Hey there, Undergrounders. We're back with another Nerd Hole podcast. This time we're doing episode 2 of our 90s rewind, and we're focusing on the 1995 family fantasy film. Two thumbs up. The Indian in the Cupboard, as you saw by the thumbnail and title. This was directed by uh, it was directed by the famous Frank Oz, who we all know as his work with the Muppets, voicing various Muppets like Fozzie and Animal.
Mm.
And also, he did Cookie Monster and Bert and Grover on Sesame Street for a long time. But probably also even more famous than those characters, which seems impossible, is he did Jedi Master Yoda.
Oh yeah.
So kind of funny that this guy did is like the voice of all these characters, and he's the director of this movie. And it was written by Melissa Matheson, who had also done screenplays like The Black Stallion, which is a good movie, and also
Oh yeah.
E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrial.
Terrestrial. So the cool thing is, I've never read them, but the movie is based off of a book, a
Hmm.
1980s book by Lynn Reed Banks. And apparently, I looking into it now, it's this. This is a story, and then there's four more books. So
Mm.
there's the Indian in the Cupboard, the Return of the Indian, the Secret of the Indian, Mystery of the Cupboard, and the Key to the Indian.
Ooh.
Pretty interesting.
I bet some of our major questions would be in the books.
Yeah, probably actually.
Now, isn't there a second movie?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
because I had, you know how we always talk about like Mandela effect?
Hmm.
I could have sworn that like he brings like a girl like for him,
Mm,
little bear.
yeah, it did feel like it should have happened, but yeah,
But then I was wondering, like, oh, does that happen in the second one? Because like then I could have sworn that there was a second one,
yeah,
but I don't think so. I'm not seeing anything.
yeah. I don't think so.
Interesting. Hold on.
So it was released July 14th, 1995, and pretty much stars a whole bunch of people except for a couple, like just a handful. Most of these people I've never seen like much of anything else.
Yeah.
So Hal Scardino as Omri, which I believe is that child actor here in the background is only in like four things, including this.
I remember him very well in this movie, but I don't remember him in anything else.
Then there's Lightfoot, who plays Little Bear. Lindsay Krause, I think, is the mother. Richard Jenkins plays his dad. Rishi Rashai Bhatt, he plays Patrick. Steve Coogan, he plays he's a famous guy. He plays the medic. He plays Tommy Atkins, the medic, and David Keith plays Boone the cowboy. David
Yeah.
Keith has been in a lot of stuff too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're covering this tonight. It's like, hey, this wasn't in our top 10. You know, it wasn't in my top 10. It wasn't in my Desert Five. So why talk about it? Well, I think number one, it's a good movie that I had forgotten about. And I think number two is it's one of those movies that um, really was like the perfect storm kind of movie where I was just young enough and just like super fascinated by this at the right time that it was like perfect.
Hmm.
And then as I got older, it became like eh, I remember that movie, but who cares? And then now older, I'm like, man, like this movie isn't like phenomenal, but the same, but like what it does in the movie, like special effects wise, and like the story of it, and like the characters and stuff. It's one of the few movies I've seen where, um, like the family is generally normal. Like he has older brothers. That's okay. He has like older brothers, but they're normal, and they pick on him a little bit, but like not that much. And usually, like the parents are always screaming at the kid in these movies, and it's like the kid is a jerk, and it's just like, or he's misunderstood, so therefore nobody really cares about him, type of thing.
That's true. I agree.
So it really impressed me. Um, and the sad thing is it was $45 million to make it, and it only made 35 million in the box office. So it didn't even break even. And to me, it's really sad because like this movie has so much to offer than so much
Yeah.
other movies out there
That's a lot. That's a lot of money for that.
for that time period, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like early CGI too.
Very, very impressive. And like you said to me the other day, like him with his hand out and like, you know, Little Bear like walking onto his hand is
Hmm.
so impressive. And there's that shot of him of Little Bear making the longhouse and just like coming in from the top
Oh
and like
yeah.
swinging, and like even him like hunting the deer in the grass in the
Yeah.
backyard. And
Yeah, it was like seamless.
yeah, and I think like the cowboy, he's like, isn't he's like sitting on one of the kids like knees and he's watching the movie. And
Oh yeah.
there's just little things like that where even when the kid, even when Patrick, they're like, Plastech, you're Plastech people, they're just
Yeah.
right. And he reaches in and he brings them out, and they're all like frozen.
Hmm.
Like even that in his hands like was really, really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I did actually really like that part. It was cool.
It's one of those movies that it can be forgotten, and it can be overlooked, and it's not like an amazing piece of cinema, but at the same time, like it has like this really niche thing that I feel like older movies have. Like, like Wizard of Oz. Like once you've seen Wizard of Oz, you're like,
Yeah.
that's a good movie, but like, do I need to watch it like constantly? You're like, no. I get the
No.
premise. I understand it. And
Yeah,
I kind of feel like
exactly.
that's what this movie is. It's like you need to see it because it's very impressive, but like I don't know if I would really go way out of my way to watch it like again, in the sense of um yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing to say. What about you? What did you think about the movie?
I really liked it. I remember growing up. Um, I must have been at that age, like different than you, because like I
Yeah.
saw it, once, but my mom loved it. I remember my mom always watching it and like loving the movie.
Yeah.
And I watched it as a kid, but it never didn't really grab me. I wasn't a big cowboy and yeah, cowboy and aliens. I wasn't a big cowboy and Indian kid growing up either,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't care about that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, rewatching it as an adult, like I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate like cinematography and
Yeah.
how well, like you said, how well the like CGI worked and all that stuff. Like it looks great. I mean, rewatching it
Yeah.
looks great. Like you said, that part where he's building the longhouse and he's sitting on top of the roof, like
Yeah.
singing, and you can hear like the echoing of like the hammer, like his dad's hammering something in the.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really
Oh yeah.
good. It's really good. And like you said,
Yeah, it's
the story is really cool, and people are just normal in this movie.
right, right.
People are
Like
just
that was
people.
it
Yeah.
was I was waiting for the hat to drop to be like, well, yeah, the dad's gonna be a jerk or the mom's gonna whatever, and it was just like, nope, they're fine.
Yeah, like you said, even the older brothers kind of like, teased him a little bit, but they weren't like over the top, like menacing, like bullies from the 90s. Like,
And, yeah, and I think the biggest thing that really made me laugh was like, and I was like, okay, this is really going down a different path of like normal movies with older brothers. Is they're at his birthday party and everything, and then it's like, oh man, we got you a he like, I think his brother got him a skateboard, like yeah,
yeah,
that, and he was like nice, and he was like, we want to go, and then the mom was like, well, you can't go alone. And they're like, okay, older brother, will you take him to the thing? And he was like, all right, mom. And he like went, and then you think like he's gonna be a jerk at it, but he was fine. Like
yeah,
the kids just didn't participate, not because the brother was mean. They just were like awkward, and they're like, we can't.
yeah.
They felt out of place, and I was just like, that's so
Yeah,
not the norm.
it wasn't like over the top, it's not
Yeah.
Home Alone, right? It's not.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, even to say that, honestly, the one scene that stands out to me is kind of something happened that's kind of like over the top is when
Sure.
Omri like kicks the hamster ball.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
He gets mad
Yeah.
at his brothers and he kicks the hamster ball down the stairs. And I was like, man, that's kind of like
It was
that's
pretty
kind of
rough.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like just like how normal the movie had been up to that point, and then it gets to that point, and you're like, okay, that's a pretty
Yeah.
drastic. Like,
They're like, okay, Omri, like
settle
let's
down,
calm down.
settle down. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even the point where he's like, I'll go to the store and get those saw blades for you, Dad. And the dad's like, okay. And he gets
yeah,
roughed up by that guy, and then he's like, hey, later he's like, hey, I heard you got hurt. Let me look at it. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, how you doing? He's like, I'm fine. He's like, all right. Like,
well, you got to remember, man, these are New Yorkers.
true. That's
Like
true.
they live in. Yeah, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it looked like it was like Brooklyn, or it didn't look like
Yeah, I
downtown
forgot where he said.
Manhattan.
No,
It might have been Queens.
maybe it was Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the story is very straightforward. He gets a cabinet from his mom, from his from
No, his brother buys him the cabinet, or finds the
that's
cabinet,
right. His brother buys him the cabinet. That's right.
and the door is locked. And his mom says, "Oh, well, I collect keys, so maybe one of these keys will work." And
Yeah.
it turned out
Yeah.
to be the key that she inherited from her mother, her grandmother,
Yeah.
unlocked it.
And so man, it's because I heard it's been a minute since I was on. Does he put the Indian in there or is it inside the cover?
Patrick gives him the Indian
Patrick gives him the Indian. That's right. Yes.
because it's implied that Omri is like he loves Indians, because he gives him the Indian. He said,
Yes.
I found this, or I painted this for you, right? Because like I know you
Yes.
love
Yes.
Indians. So I think he puts
That's
him.
right.
I think it's
He
just one
puts
of
him
those
in.
kid. It's one of those kid things where he doesn't, that to him is valuable is what his friend Patrick gave him, so he puts it in the
Right.
thing and locks it.
That's right. He goes upstairs. He finds the key that works. He puts Patrick's Indian guy in there and he closes it and locks it and then goes to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the morning he opens it and you can see little
Yeah,
bears in there.
there's an actual live man inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like,
I love when he stabs his finger too.
yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty
nice.
Omri got pretty lucky that he speaks English too, you know.
Yeah, right. So here are my big questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just like weird grandma stuff? Like grandma's like a weird thing and
Yeah.
it's
Always weird.
making the toy come to life and it just happens to be more than like Toy Story where it's like it's a real person in a sense,
Mm.
or is it making the toy still come to life but it's literally like transplanting an individual in history into this like person, into this toy? Because
Yeah.
Little Bear is like, well, I was in the woods hunting with my nephew,
Yeah.
like take me back, and it's like, so it's like it's not just like, where am I? I am a Native American in this weird place, and here is
Yeah.
Native American information. He has like a backstory,
Well,
and like also, yeah, go ahead.
to go along with your that theory is, remember, the medic gets
Right,
brought in, that he saves his wound, and then he goes back. And then when they bring him back to save Boone, he had like lived more. It wasn't like his
right,
time stopped. He had lived like more. Like he experienced more of the
yeah, and
war.
so and it seems like it's not like that those kids like were doing something with the toys and then like their make believe pretend play with the
Oh no.
toys was like becoming his reality.
No.
It just seemed like he was in a bin, and then when he brings him back, specifically the medic, he brings him
Yeah.
back out. He's like, "Oh wow, whew, that was close. Bombs are going over my head and stuff
And
like
he
that."
even knew like what Indians were. Like in his history, like Indians were like part of history. So it's like
Right.
it's this weird, yeah, it's like I believe the story is like it's transplanting people.
Because I
But I
was
guess
just thinking,
you
like,
have to read the books. You got to read the books to find
yeah.
out.
I was just thinking, like, what if they took like random city person and like put him in? Like, would you and I suddenly be inside the cupboard as like a little person? You know, it's like, oh, what's happening? You know, yeah. That was like one of the biggest questions I was trying to understand, like in the movie, because I
But
was very fascinated by it.
my question that I asked you after was, is it the cupboard that's magical, or
Mhm.
is it the key?
It's got to be the key,
Yeah. Because if
right?
you shut
Because
the door, it doesn't do anything.
right,
You have to lock it and unlock it for the magic to work.
right. So it's like, what is like? Why does a grandma have a magic key that unlocks a cupboard? And it's
I don't
interesting.
know.
It's very,
I
very
don't
interesting.
know.
Even
Let's
like,
go ahead.
remember the scene where he's on the horse and he rides to the edge and then he gets like bucked off and they catch him.
Yeah.
Like even that's like just a really good.
Well,
He
then he,
shoots him. He shoots him with the bullet, and he's like, "He
yeah.
shot me." He shot.
But then Boone's walking around on top of the bed comforter too.
Oh yeah,
Like it's a
yeah,
desert. And it's like, man, that looks really good.
yeah,
Yeah. And then the old Indian that gets like scared to death.
yeah.
That's pretty good. You know, that's
They
pretty
bury
like
him.
serious stuff, like for being a kids movie.
Yeah, it wasn't really funny. It was like you're killing people, and he was like, I've killed someone, and it was just like,
Yeah.
we're gonna deal with this for a minute. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to talk about.
Yeah. And I think it's the first thing that you would do
It's immediately the first thing
if you, yeah, if I found out that that cabinet worked, right? This is this is
Right.
this is what I'm doing.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh
Oh,
yeah. So it is crazy to me, unless there's something else out there and I've never seen it. It is insane to me that this is the movie for all intensive purposes to have Star Wars
Yeah.
and Star Trek on the same screen.
Oh yeah. That's true.
So he puts in the cupboard
You know
Darth
what?
Vader.
I don't even know if I remember seeing all of it at once because I was focused on Vader and I was focused on like the T-Rex.
Okay. So he puts in the cupboard Darth Vader, a T Rex,
Yeah.
a G.I. Joe
Yeah.
on the top shelf. Then on the bottom shelf, he puts a Cardassian from Deep Space Nine, a
Oh.
Ferengi,
No.
and he
Yeah. Okay.
He puts RoboCop down there.
RoboCop. I remember RoboCop. Yes, yes, yes.
So with that laser thing that shoots out of the
Yeah.
full thing is like a phaser. It's a Star Trek thing. It's crazy. So the Cardassian and the Ferengi are fighting each other, and the GI Joe goes down the ladder. He makes like a makeshift
Um,
ladder and goes down.
I'm watching it. Yeah, you're right. Wow, that's cool. I remember seeing RoboCop.
It's
That's really
nuts.
funny. And what makes it even crazier is like those are people dressed up.
Yeah, I looked up on who the guys were, and they're guys. One of them is like a stunt double um for Star Trek. He's used a lot in Star Trek as a stunt double.
Huh. How funny is that? Imagine if like that was you
Right.
and you could say like, yeah, I've played Vader. You're like, oh wow,
Right,
what
right.
movie? What movie? And you're like, Indian in the cupboard, baby.
So the thing I was thinking about was I don't know what RoboCop. I don't know what company owns RoboCop,
Mm,
but you have 20th Century Fox as Star Wars at the time. It's just a generic dinosaur and a generic GI Joe guy. So you
yeah.
really only have to pay like Paramount and whatever company owns RoboCop.
Metro Goldwyn Mayas. So yeah, that's crazy. What was it just thinking? It's funny too because like Jackson and I just went to go see Beast Wars not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie, it's a spoiler if you haven't seen it. That movie literally ends with this thing where they're like, "Oh, hey, so you should join this." And they're like, "Cool, what is this?" And then he turns over the card and it's like GI Joe.
Oh,
So they're literally crossing over like Transformers and GI Joe like in the end of that movie. And you're like, "No way." So it's funny to see GI Joe in this
like
movie too. You broke up a little bit.
like the Channing Tatum movie that like came out, like the ones that are already made.
I don't
Like
think
it's
so.
tying into those.
No, I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think so. I think moving forward, they're gonna do
I see.
like a GI Joe Transformers like movie together.
Okay.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, you got to see like the base and everything, the GI Joe base. It was pretty awesome. And I wasn't even like a big like GI Joe like kid,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
but it was
same.
just cool to like see it.
Yeah. So that honestly, that was like the most wild thing for me, besides the CGI. Like
Yeah.
for the Indian in the cupboard to have a Star Wars character and the Star Trek characters in the same
Yeah.
movie, and it's not like toys. I mean, they are toys, but it's not. It's like they're full on actors. Like they're full on everything. It's
It's
crazy to me.
it's one of those weird things where they might have been able to get away with it because it's like the likeness of the characters. And they never
Maybe,
utter the names of the characters. So it's
yeah.
like if you got a guy with a red lightsaber and you can say, "Oh, well, that's Red Stick Man."
I feel like they
But
went
like
and
if you literally say like, "Yeah, it's Darth Vader," let me put Darth Vader in the cabinet. Then it's like, no, you don't know. You can't say Darth Vader.
well, I think that's the funny thing is like they probably had more rights to things back then. Not as many companies had.
Oh yeah,
Stuff has changed
it's
significantly
funny.
over the
It's
last
it's going that way again. And everything's getting owned by
coming
Disney.
back over. Yeah, they call him Tom Bewley. That's who plays Darth Vader.
Huh. That is funny.
Hilarious.
That's really cool. Like you said, like that's something you have not seen like since.
And this Tom Bewley's credit is only that movie. That's
Wow.
hilarious. So
Probably was like a
he'd be like,
camera
oh
guy
yeah,
that they just
I
put a
play
suit on. He probably was one of the prop masters or something.
or a stunt guy or something. Yeah, too funny, too funny. But yeah, just was hilarious that these that had happened, and it's like I would never have said that that type of movie would have that in it.
Yeah.
Just funny to me.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. I liked it. And I liked it that like freaks him out. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is immediately like chaos. Like, no, no, no. No, we can't do
It's
this.
like, well, if one guy's cool, aren't like six guys cool? Yeah.
But like that there's like all immediately at war too. Like, and then they see
Yeah.
him and Vader goes to like do the pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? You know what? This movie kind of reminds me of a movie I always watched a bunch, but like I didn't want to do it in this series. I think we'll probably get to it
Hmm.
when we do like honorable mentions for this series. Was what's the name of that stupid movie? Small Soldiers.
Oh, Small Soldiers. Yeah.
Remember watching that a lot?
I love Small Soldiers.
I bet you did.
That that literally I think is having its 25th like anniversary here like
Yeah, sure it
one
is.
of these days.
Yeah, we always. It's literally what we just were talking about in a different cast. Is we're like, hey, so this movie's doing this. I'm like, oh, cool, that'd be cool to make something. When is that? And you're like, oh, it's this Friday.
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Oh, okay, good.
I think I
That
already
must be
uploaded
what?
it to my thing, didn't I? I think I already put it on my
I think
account.
you did. That's got to be what, 30, 20, 30?
I think it was 25.
Hmm.
Let me look it up. I just don't remember what day it was.
I couldn't tell you anybody's name from that movie.
July. Chip Hazard. Chip Hazard.
What's the
Yeah, July.
main
Chip Hazard.
the soldier guy, but I was never
Oh,
aligned with the soldier guy. Come on.
Gorgon.
Gorgon. Yeah, I knew it was a G. Gorgonaut.
Yeah, Gorgonite. Gorgon.
Gorgon.
Yeah. Oh. Well, that's so funny when you watch that trailer that I released. It's literally just the kid fighting the soldiers. They don't even show those the other.
I think I remember something happening in that movie where like they did something sneaky.
Well, that's right. They're the Gorgonites, and the main thing is called Archer. His name is Archer.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
Insaniac, Punch It and Scratch It, Slam Fist, Ocula.
Ocula's the ball, the eyeball. Yeah,
Yeah.
the suction cup guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Troglodyte is the like caveman looking fish dude.
Oh yeah, with the tooth.
Yeah. I had like all the
Wow,
toys. I had
that's crazy. What was it about our era of like the '90s that really wanted
toys
kids
coming
to,
to life.
yeah, like think about their toys?
Well, it was
That's why
probably
our
the sad.
that's why our era is literally just all these guys in their 30s that collect toys and keep them like in the packaging. Because
Oh yeah.
oh, you can't hurt them. If you hurt them, then they'll die. You can't.
I think it just is. I think in a sad way. I think it was probably studios' ways of like, well, I mean, don't you want these guys? Don't you want them to be
Buy
your
it.
friends?
You can own them all too for a small fee of $69.99 a week.
Yep.
Buy our
Yep.
stuff. Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what
So
else in the movie do you remember liking a lot? The argument at school with Patrick and
yeah,
Omri is
and
pretty good.
them walking like really slow,
Oh,
like you said.
that is so funny. Yeah. That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I like that Boone and Littlefoot, Little Bear
Yeah.
kind of
But
gain a friendship, you know.
yeah, like inside the pack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that what he does for him too. Like in the beginning part of the movie, like he goes and gets him that like little like stage thing, and he puts like the jar lid upside down
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
like water, and he gives him like leaves and
To bring the outside inside.
yeah.
Yep, I like that a lot.
I also that made me laugh was there he's back at school and he's at that like circle and they're reading their stories and
Mhm.
he's writing this like insane fantasy
Yeah.
story, right? And then it cuts to that kid either before or after him, and he's like,
I
JFK was the fourth.
I love the JFK kid.
It
He's
was
so
hilarious.
funny. It even ends with him. The movie ends with him finishing.
Yeah.
And JFK's brains were all over the. It's like,
Oh man, it was hilarious. And the thing too is like they asked that kid to be that weird and monotone about it, and he nailed it. He
yeah,
nailed it. It's hilarious.
yeah, it was really good.
Every time coming back, and it's like Omri's like, today we killed a older chief. I forgot what kind of Indian he said. A Mohawk. He said, "Oh, we killed a
Yeah,
Mohawk man, and we buried him in the ritual, and we hunted together, and blah blah." And then he's like,
I'm beginning.
JFK was born in whatever.
I don't worry about Little Bear as much when I'm at school anymore because
Right,
I know.
right.
The other kid. Some people say JFK was the greatest president. It's like this kid is like telling this like horribly detailed story to just be like just some kid writing. And I
Yep.
also like that he was so like you can't tell anybody, and was mad at Patrick.
Yeah,
And then there he is in school, and he's like telling everybody like open class like what's going on essentially.
yeah. Well, it's fine. Nobody's gonna believe him.
And then even at the end, right when he tells that he finishes his story in school, the teacher's like, "Yeah, it was a pretty good story."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you failed because this was supposed to be about presidents. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that have been funny? Wouldn't that have been a funny way to end the movie where the teacher's like, "That's a great story, Omri, but you're gonna fail this class because this is history, and your assignment was to write about presidents. Pick a president."
Yeah.
I found a little man. I put him in my cabinet. I opened the cabinet. There was a little man.
Oh man, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, it'd been pretty good.
I think, and I think maybe it's because we're adults. I think one of the only thing that was kind of too much,
Yeah.
overbearing. I don't know what the word is, but I'm sorry, viewers. This is what it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
There was a lot of scenes like that.
a lot of that. Like this in the background is fine because he's looking at Little Bear and he's amazed
Yeah.
wherever he is here. I can't do it. There he is.
Yeah. Everything's opposite.
Right?
Yeah.
Little Bear. It's fine, but and it was like generally okay. Man, that end.
There's so
That
many
end.
scenes where it shows like Little Bear and he's like,
Yeah.
and then it like camera turns around and it's literally like you're saying, it's like, and it just hangs on it for
really
way
did.
too long. And you're just like, okay, go
That
to the
end.
next scene.
That
The
end.
The ending
No.
was so dude, the ending when he finishes
That
his
ending.
story and he's in class and it's literally like it just pans into his face
Oh, that
and then it
ending.
does like it circles around it and he's just like, I did it.
I honestly would have rather have seen Little Bear in the woods with his nephew, like hunting,
Anything.
and like watch them walk into the trail or something. You know what I mean?
The other part that was like, I think this is the only time I like laughed like out loud when I was watching it at night. Like I'm watching it in bed and I have my headphones and I literally just cracked up. Was Little Bear's like explaining to Omri like what he does, like what would be involved in like him surviving a year in the wilderness and
yeah.
And Omri like closes his eyes and he's like picturing it, you know. And
Yeah.
then it turns over and he's in the woods with like this, you know, like tall Native American, you know, no shirt on.
Yeah.
And then it does the same thing. It pans back into Omri's face and he's like, "Oh, little foot, little bear." It's just like,
Bear.
what?
I will be waiting for you.
What is this?
Oh.
What is this scene? This scene does not need to exist.
No. No, it doesn't.
Like,
really
I'll find it. I'll find it and put it in because it was so like,
Oh.
oh, little bear.
And
Like,
I think
whatever.
I think it's only because we're adults now. So
Oh yeah, if I was a kid, I'd be like, oh yeah, that would be fun to be there.
That's what you'd be like. Oh, Little Bear. That's what you would do. You'd be right there with him.
Yeah, I would. That's funny. That was it, though. I mean, that was honestly the only thing. It was like the only two things that we were like, okay, this needs to be. And that's pretty good for a movie because normally it's.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to complain about it when that's that's really the problem. It's just like lingering face shots.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot worse things in cinema.
Oh my gosh. I'd rather watch this than half the stuff that comes out like every year.
Yes. I would rather watch this than see Dial of Destiny again.
Yeah. I wish that wasn't true, but yeah. That ending though, I would watch that ending again.
I think we're like the only
the time travel.
We're the only three people that liked it, that liked the ending.
That's okay.
Oh, that's right. Well, we get paid the big bucks.
Mhm. Huge fat YouTube bucks.
wads of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's okay. It might be a shorter one. They're just the plot to it is very simple. It's what you would
Yeah.
expect. There is an Indian in a cupboard.
He is in there, yeah. I was surprised. I was surprised when I didn't think I didn't think there was gonna be a cupboard in this movie.
Ooh, a cupboard.
Oh, oh, wow.
Oh, was that the real cupboard?
Oh, wow.
There's probably
Man.
some guy or lady out there that's like, technically, that's a
Yeah.
hanging cabinet.
That's actually, yeah. All right. So, who gets the Trip Tucker Award?
As the MVP, who's the MVP?
Yeah,
It's got to be the mom. She gave him the key.
it's true. It's true.
If it wasn't for grandma / mom, this movie wouldn't exist.
Well, without Patrick giving him the Indian,
And the brother.
there's no Indian
That's a
in
lot.
the cupboard.
That's a lot. That's
It would have
true.
been the
There is
movie
no-
would have been called Vader.
I
in the
don't want
cupboard.
Patrick to be. I don't want Patrick to be the MVP. He's kind of
Yeah, he's not. He just was annoying enough, wasn't he, as a kid,
just enough.
to
Just
be like the
enough.
antagonist? I
Yeah.
want the little man in my pocket all
No.
day.
I mean, Omri's like, dude, they're real people. You can't do this. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't think you understand. I want.
This isn't a game, Patrick. This is life and death.
Yeah.
You can't just put a man in a cabinet.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
who gets
maybe it's just Omri. Maybe it's just Omri's the MVP.
Yeah, probably. He learned a lot that summer.
I mean, he thought on his feet. Oh, that was the thing I was going to tell you. What would have been cool is if they had the pull to actually get like one of the Star Trek doctors from the show, and he had the
Oh.
toy, and he like put the doctor in, and
That would have
it's
been
like,
sweet.
That would have been really cool. And then you could have a nice crossover thing in an episode where they were like, I had a weird dream where I was like in a kid's bedroom and blah blah blah, healing an Indian.
That would
be
be
cool.
sweet too. I think
Yeah.
it's more like it makes more sense that like that type of kid is playing with like army figures and cowboys and
Well, he-
Indians.
Well, he had to go get the medic from his brothers. Remember, it was like his
Oh,
brother's
that's
toy.
right. You're right. He had to go upstairs and get it.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You know what I didn't understand is that scene where he goes up there and he says, "Where's my cabinet or my cupboard?"
oh yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, where's my hamster ball?" And then he runs downstairs and he has to like climb on top of the washing machine to get it off the top of the like rack. And I was
Oh.
like, why was that the exchange? Like he made it sound like Omri lost his ball, but like obviously one of his parents like put it up there.
Well, I think what happened was, if I'm remembering it correctly, is Omri hates that the rat almost killed Little Bear.
Yeah.
So he takes the ball from his brother's room when he's sleeping and he puts it down in the basement hamper
Oh.
and he hides it from the brother. And then when the cupboard is then missing because the brother is mad because he assumes that Omri did something with the rat ball. He goes, "I'll tell you where the cupboard is if you tell me where the ball is." And he goes down to the hamper to get it out, and it's not in the hamper because obviously mom or dad has done laundry.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
so-
It's like,
So then I think the parents saw it and just put it up on the shelf.
yeah, instead of like giving it back. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene needed to be kind of like tense anyway, because
Yeah. Right.
but yeah, it was just funny. It was just one of those things you were like, that I don't know, that's kind of weird. But
Yeah.
the other thing that's funny too is like they were looking for the key after that, like the key was gone. And they searched the entire house except for the giant crack right underneath where this cupboard sits all the time. That was like the one spot they didn't look.
And then it's a right.
I like that. That was good. Yeah, that was good.
But Patrick
was
didn't care.
good.
He's like, I got him. He ran it.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
pretty good. So who
I
gets
would've-
the
I would've
Porthos
paid
award?
As being the cheesiest.
Yeah.
I would have paid an extra $1 to see Little Bear in the floor, like with a torch or something, like a lit thing, looking for with the rat, like in the thing.
There's another crossover. He has to put Indiana Jones in the cupboard and take his torch.
Just have Indiana Jones. I
It could have
want to
been.
play with him.
I want the Indiana Jones in my pocket. You could have put Han Solo and Indian there to get the
Wow.
torch and the pistol, and it could have been
Think of the
two-
millions
yeah.
of dollars we could be making. The
If
cheesiest
only
thing of
Kathleen
the-
Kenny knew, she could have destroyed the franchise so much earlier.
That's true. That's true. The cheesiest thing is a combination of. Let me think about it. It's either that ending with his face, right, which is really rough,
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
or it's every time Little Bear gets mad, he's like, "Take me back! How dare you!" And then 5 minutes later, he's like, Omri's like, "Look," and he's like, "Oh, great! This is great." And he like doesn't want. And suddenly, it's like he forgets to go. Like he wants to go back. He would get mad. How dare you do this? You're killing people. Or I want to go back to my nephew. And then he would be like,
Don't use magic you don't know how to control.
right. And he's like, hey, what about a bow and arrow? And he's like, oh, this is pretty amazing.
This is great. This was
So it's a mix between those two things.
this was well worth killing a man.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then he makes like the deer come alive just to be
Yeah.
killed. And he's fine with that.
That's totally fine.
I really like when he puts the TP in
Yes.
and it comes out like as like a full, like real
an actual. Yeah. I do not know
was
what
pretty
this
cool.
is.
And you know what the other thing too was honestly cool was even like for the time period was he's from New York. We already talked about that. So that's why it makes sense that like you had the older Indian, like you said, was a Mohawk. And he was
Yeah.
an Iroquois. Was he Iroquois?
Yeah, Iroquois, yeah.
So you have these two, type
Yeah.
of Indians from this place, and he gives him the teepee, and he's like, yeah, this is fine, but like I don't want to live in a teepee. I want to live in a longhouse. And he's like,
Right.
what's a longhouse? Well, it's a house that's long.
No.
But it was cool. It was cool how accurate it was.
Right,
it
yeah.
didn't feel like, for being an older movie, it didn't feel like it's like, this is not. First of all, he was Native American, like an actor,
Like an actual, yeah.
which is awesome, right? It's not some
right.
white guy doing
Right.
it.
Wasn't Johnny Depp playing them, right?
And the other thing I liked too was like Omri like wanted to learn a bunch of stuff about Indians, so like he brought home like a bunch of books from the library. Like,
Yeah.
he gets some from school that day. Remember, and he puts like all the books out, and it's just like all
Oh,
of, like
tons of.
New York Indians. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's obviously like how else would you do like research in the
I
'90s?
mean, you got to understand everything. Yeah.
So that was cool. I liked that very much.
Yeah.
I like when his brothers are looking at the longhouse.
Like,
And
Omri,
I'm like,
this is
how
amazing.
did you make this? How would you get all these sticks to bind together?
Yeah, because you
And
can just
then-
imagine like the wrapping to it would be so intricate and so small for like him to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Little Bear's like hiding under the radiator. And he's like, oh, are we in danger? And he's like, no, those are my brothers. And he goes, oh, brothers.
Yeah.
I've always hated my brothers. It's funny. Yeah, it was a good
Logic
movie.
to child. Yeah.
I'm glad I got to rewatch it in my
Yeah.
adult age and really appreciate it more,
Yeah, absolutely. Same. I was a little when I first was going to watch it. I was like, all right, let's see
Yeah.
how this is going to
I
be.
I remember majority of it, but then when I started it and I saw the intro is like the door
Oh,
shutting and then the lights up and it's like another Indian and then it shuts and it's another Indian and then it shuts and it's like three more Indians. It's like, oh my God. Okay,
yeah.
I get the I get the concept. I get the concept. Yeah. And it was like I was already getting to the point where I was like, oh my God, this is getting to be too much.
Yeah, it was rough.
And then
It was
the name pops up. Directed by Kathleen. I was like, what? I was like, are you serious?
executive producer.
What has she not been involved with? She's been behind it the whole time. Everything is Kathleen. It's just everything. It was pretty funny. Yeah, I sent you that. I sent. I literally texted you.
I'm out. I can't. Won't do it. Yeah, there it is. Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Won't turn, but yeah.
Yeah, I sent you that picture.
That's
And you know what's
hilarious.
funny? You know what's funny is I think we rented this from Amazon, right? So
Yeah.
so I paused on that screen and I took a snapshot, if screen
Yeah.
shot or whatever they call it. And I went to send it to you and it was just black. And I was like, oh, that's right. So I literally had to like have McKenna take a picture of my phone and send it to me just so I could send that to you and be like, no, I'm done. You can talk about this on your own, buddy. Because my shark documentary, not directed by
Nah, Kathleen Kennedy has nothing to do with it, right?
She probably did. That's the funny thing.
No, it's British.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think in general that will wrap up the Indian in the cupboard. And we're doing as you see, we're doing a small 90s rewind. Look back to our childhood forgotten
Rewind. Actually,
we're kind of doing.
this is how we used to rewind things. Remember, you take a pencil.
Oh yeah.
And you'd stick it in, and you go. Ooh, oh. Or if you were really fancy, like my grandparents, you'd put it in this big PlayStation thing and shut the lid.
Yeah. Shut it.
And then you push a button and go.
that and remember the craziness that if you went back to wherever Blockbuster, wherever you rented it from, video to roll, and you didn't rewind
you got charged, dude.
You got charged.
That's where the saying "Be kind, rewind" comes from. That's a great movie too, man. I love that.
Well, there's always
our 2000s rewind.
2000s rewind from the movies from our teens. But this is 90s rewinds of specifically movies that we have seen maybe a lot of or used to watch like all the time, or just movies that we saw once or twice, forgot about them entirely, and now we're going back and watching them again. So next time on the schedule, we'll go back to Caleb's schedule. This guy and that guy right there.
Yeah, me. It's me.
We're gonna go. He's gonna go. We're gonna go over to him, and we're gonna do the something release
I thought you were gonna say something peach.
No. We're gonna do the 1996 fantasy animated film James and the Giant Peach.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, I literally have not seen this movie since I was probably like 12.
Same. Yeah, I probably was in my early teens the last time I saw it.
I honestly think it's one of the first movies I ever saw that was like stop motion.
Oh, all right, that's cool.
Maybe. I would have to check on that, but I think so.
Not gonna.
No. No, you're not gonna. Every stop motion movie ever made according to time. Number 1, the original King Kong. With like the clay dinosaurs, remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
So that will be what we will cover next time when you're with us going down a nerd hole.
We'll see you guys in another. No. And then I just was like, no, I can't. Everything about our name and slogan is just so wildly
so
inappropriate.
Good. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Literally, like, it's literally so bad that like when we had like somebody from a different language do a voiceover, they're like, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that. Oh. Okay.
I'm fine with that.
I don't think we thought it was anything different.
Yeah.
All right. So we will see you guys next time we go down another nerd hole.